Hello and welcome to Cultural Capital. As the whole of the arts tries to cram a year's worth of activity into the last couple of months of 2021, we're here to pick out the best of it for you. This week we're paying homage to a London icon with a visit to the new Amy Winehouse exhibition at the Design Museum, and we're going backstage at the new production of Life of Pi, finally opening in the West End next week, to talk to the puppeteers behind its incredible menagerie of animals. I bet you'd forgotten about the zebra, hadn't you? I had forgotten about the zebra. We're heading to the Dickens Museum for Thing of the Week, and I'll be reviewing the campest film you'll see this Christmas, House of Gucci. First though, there's been a lot written about how tragic was the life and death of Amy Winehouse, and quite rightly. What perhaps there hasn't been quite enough of is joy taken in her talent, vivacity and musical legacy. The Design Museum, working with the Winehouse family, is hoping to change that with its new exhibition, Amy Beyond the Stage. We headed down there to take a look.
We all know Amy as a celebrity, as like a huge public figure. So yeah, it felt important, that kind of personal connection with the audience through her belongings. And I think some of them kind of speak to her personality so well, especially the handwritten material. When you walk into the exhibition, the first section's about Amy's early life, and we see some of her childhood photographs that haven't been seen before, an extract from her teenage diaries, including a list of her fame ambitions, which shows that she had a real vision for who she wanted to be at such a young age. I really wanted the exhibition to be celebratory of Amy, her career and her legacy as a style icon, partly because I felt that those things had been outshadowed by the troubles that she faced, and the media had placed a lot of emphasis on those struggles, often with a lack of empathy or support. So I wanted the exhibition to offer more of a cultural discourse in defining who she was as an artist.
It's a beautiful exhibition, really captured Amy in her fineness. The essence of Amy was joy, always Amy, happy and joyful. It was just nice to see it, knowing Amy, obviously as I did, but that she had such a huge collection and all the positiveness of it.
Yeah.
Positivity is good, and it's very nice to hear other people were influenced by her, because a lot of them didn't meet her, didn't know her, but they could see how she performed, and that is for them a lovely thing to be able to see that. And I'm sure Amy would never ever have believed it possible.
The family were the lenders of the core collection, so they held what we call the main archive relating to Amy, but they gave us free rein to conceive the exhibition, and they fed in at certain milestones, but broadly they were happy with the approach. I mean, I went round with Mitch, and at the end of the installation we were both in tears. It was such an incredible moment.
This is positive, it's wonderful, it's immersive, it's colourful, it's informative. It just proves how enduring Amy is and how much people still love her.
And for me, connecting with her handwritten pages enabled me to understand Amy as a human and as a person. I think I'd really like people to understand Amy's legacy as a cultural figure, her musicianship, and her celebration of black music culture.
Amy Beyond the Stage is at the Design Museum from today. Now, after its triumphant premiere in 2019 at the Sheffield Crucible, the stage production of Yann Martel's Booker Prize-winning novel Life of Pi, adapted by Lolita Chakrabarti, has finally reached the West End stage. It's now in previews, so we headed down to the Wyndham's Theatre to talk to the team bringing the show's animals to vivid life.
So bringing Richard Parker to life, we talked about different ways of doing it. Obviously my specialisation is sort of active puppetry with people in contact with the puppet that they're holding. And so we decided to try that with Richard Parker. And Nick Barnes and I, who co-designed the puppets, we'd co-designed the puppets together. We knew that we wanted to make something very flexible, very live, but the most important thing was that it could move as fast as a tiger and was intimidating in the way that a tiger is. we designed the anatomy of him first and how he moves and the mechanics of the puppet first, but then we started to think about the aesthetic. We wanted it to leave a bit of space for the audience's imagination, so the gaps in the puppet allow the audience to take part in the creation of the life of the puppet. In some ways, I think that allows them to care more about it. Making Richard Parker was wonderful because he is one of the type of puppets that I think is the most exciting. He's like a universal puppet. Really, we hope this puppet can do anything. He can climb stairs, he can jump up against the wall. At one point in the show, he becomes a talking human tiger, and so he's pretty adaptable. He can pretty much do anything. Our remit, though, was to make sure that the tiger was scary. That it really felt like it was not a puppet on stage, not a cute puppet, but a puppet that was dynamic enough to challenge Pi and really feel like it was a frightening thing for him to be on the boat with. With the puppeteers, we spent a long time studying tiger movement, so their behavioural patterns, what they do, but also why they do it. So we look at the way a tiger's ears might move, the way its eyes respond, why it moves in a certain way. So we basically put what is a type of, puppet doll, a creature on stage, and we sort of say to the audience, will you believe with us that this is real? And the audience agree to do that with us. And so we collectively agree that it's more exciting to look at this and believe that it's alive, and therefore sort of forget about the puppeteers. There's a load of technique on the end of that as well, but basically we form a pact with the audience to suspend their disbelief.
Life of Pi is at the Wyndham's Theatre, booking to the 27th of February. Now, it's Thing of the Week.
This is a plaster cast bust of Charles Dickens, and it was actually made by Madame Tussauds' great-grandson, John Theodore Tussaud. Madame Tussaud was actually a contemporary of Dickens and had a grand showroom on Baker Street, which we think Dickens might have visited. Waxworks were really popular in the Victorian period, and Dickens actually wrote about them in his own novels. So in the old curiosity shop, you might remember that Mrs. Jarley has a waxworks that little Nell works at, where she actually points at old waxworks to describe their historical significance, just like I'm doing now. So this image of Dickens is actually of the older, more grizzled version of Dickens that we're quite used to seeing, and it was actually based on studies that John Tussaud's father had done of Dickens leading up to his death in 1870. So it's quite a great depiction of Dickens from the later years of his life.
I think it's fair to say that the reviews for House of Gucci have been mixed. When the global embargo dropped on Monday night at 11 p.m, they ranged from 1 to 5 stars, and phrases from howlingly inept to all fizz and no faff were brandished. I saw it on Monday, and you know what? It's basically a hoot.
It was a name that sounded so sweet.
The fashion, of course, is fabulous. The wigs tell a story all of their own, and the accents in a cast that includes Lady Gaga, Adam Driver, Jared Leto, Jeremy Irons, Al Pacino and Camille Cotin are quite mad, but they're all as mad as each other, which means it's not that distracting. And frankly, they're no madder than they would be if you were standing in a room full of posh transatlantic Europeans anyway. They all sound really weird. As far as I'm concerned, just adds to the general whiff of old money and dirty glamour.
Gucci needs new blood. It's time to take out the trash.
Gaga is great fun as Patrizia Reggiani, an earthy middle-class girl who goes to a party and meets an air sprite in the form of Maurizio Gucci, and ethereal a being as the fabulous Adam Driver can make him, with wrists made to wear exquisite watches and a frame on which it would be criminal not to hang a beautiful suit. He's a nice lad, Maurizio, but lonely and awkward, so this forward, fascinating young woman has him in the palm of her hand within 2 meetings, not literally, but also that doesn't take long. The sex is very funny, actually. It makes a nice change. Of course, his snobby father, played by Jeremy Irons, thinks she's a common little gold digger and freezes the couple out. It's only a short time, though, before Patrizia is charming Pacino's Uncle Aldo and advancing her husband's position in the company behind his father's back. Maurizio, who's been trying to escape his family legacy, is at first reluctant, but his own taste for the finer things in life and a somewhat delusional impression that he has the first idea how to run a business eventually goes to his head, along with the attentions of an attractive old friend, Paola Franchi, played by Cotin. The scorned Patrizia's response, a real-life story that you cannot believe she thought she'd get away with, is the stuff of opera. And that's the thing. Even though it's based on a true story, this is opera buffa with a dash of the seria thrown in. Over the top, totally preposterous, full of outrageous characters, and fantastic music.
Paolo, you are Gucci, you need to dress the part.
It's chic.
The only thing that sticks for me is that, apart from the fact that it's half an hour too long and there are at least 2 scenes in terminally beige Gucci stores that could be excised with barely a ripple, is that I'm absolutely baffled as to why the filmmakers decided to cast Jared Leto in a fat suit as Aldo's son Paolo instead of a middle-aged actor. I mean, it's not as if they're in short supply, is it? Leto just isn't excellent enough to justify such a weird decision. And I can't believe that it was his casting that got this star-studded Ridley Scott production the green light. Paul Chahidi, right? From The Death of Stalin and This Country. He'd have been brilliant. And I do sort of think that perhaps we're beyond putting skinny people in fat suits to make them look normal. I certainly think we probably should be.
I don't consider myself to be a particularly ethical person, but I am fair.
That aside, this operatic festival of camp is a preposterous pleasure. It's in cinemas now. Thanks for watching Cultural Capital. Do give us a like, share on social and subscribe. We'll see you next week.